Hello, my name is Algorithm. I do YouTube's dirty work. I unsubscribe unsuspecting people from hunting, shooting and reloading channels. Please check your subscription to this channel. Don't forget to subscribe and like. That keeps me in a job.
Hi, welcome back to Chase's Everything Shooting. Today's episode is really, I'm going to kind of touch on some of the comments I've gotten and some of the things that have been going on, the Pam Bondi and the DOJ and what isn't happening, what is happening. I'm not going to touch on that because there's enough people out there that have really drug that through the dirt. But what I'm going to talk about is why 2A supporters are silent. Estimates show that 341,495 people live in the United States. That's a pretty good chunk of people. But if you think about it, 82 million of those, almost 83 million, are gun owners. So let's get to the nuts and bolts of this. In the last election, 152,320,193 votes were cast for president. Out of that, if you just took our block, if all of us gun owners were registered voters, that means 82,880,000 would be the number that would have cast votes. We would be 54.4% of the vote. Here, let me say that again. 54.4% of the vote. That is a huge chunk. And why are we the silent majority? You know, there are a few things that inhibit people from really getting out there and supporting the 2A effort. And the number one thing, and I'm not doing it in any order, but the first thing that comes to my mind is they're unsure what to say to the person that answers the phone. And I totally get that. And if you're not used to making those phone calls and doing that, then I totally get it. And I've heard that more and more. Yeah, well, I just don't really know what to tell them. I don't know what to do. And, you know, I feel kind of stupid making that phone call. I totally get it. But you know what? That phone call is super important. The next thing in line is they're not sure who their federal, state, city, or county legislator are. And there's a lot of different websites out there that you plug in your zip code and it'll tell you, you know, all your different legislators through down to the city council and down to the county people that reside on those county boards. So there's a way to figure that out. You know, I kind of have to blame the silent majority. I shouldn't say silent majority. I kind of blame the associations, the NRA, GOA, NAGR, Ducks Unlimited, some of the social media people that they go out and say, you got to do this, you got to do this. But the real big issue is they're not telling the people what to say. And that's a huge thing. Now, some will say, hey, just go out there and find out who it is and email them. Well, I will tell you from my past experience, I would never tell anyone to email their legislator. And the reason being is the legislator minimally ever sees any of those emails. One of their assistants goes through and they go, nah, not worth it, not worth it, not worth it, not going to return this, not going to do this, whatever. And it's all just kind of pushed aside and done. Now, what I have told people over the many years that I've done this is you need to pick up the phone and call. And I get it. Calling is a nightmare. And what do you say? Well, if we've done our job, we're going to give you one or two sentences to say. And in those sentences, you're going to say, "Hi, my name is such and such. I live in this zip code. I'm a constituent. And I would like the congressman or senator or county rep or city councilman, I'd like him or her to vote yes on bill number such and such." Now, that's not too hard, right? Well, I get it. There's a lot of people out there that are apprehensive of making that phone call and having to talk to someone. So what I'm going to say is if you're apprehensive about that, then call after hours. And you say, after hours? Yes. All the congressmen, everybody has a voicemail set up. And in Washington, D.C., when those legislative aides come in, they go through the voicemails and they log the voicemails. Such and such, zip code called no on bill number X or yes on bill number X. So those are all logged. Now, each congressman, senator, or whatever, they have the right to not do that, make their office accountable. Most are pretty accountable, and most pretty much will go through all those voicemails and they'll put something down on that. Now, one of the things I'm going to say is if you're going to leave a message, you don't have to leave your name, but you've got to say you're a constituent and you've got to say what zip code you live in, because a lot of people will lie and say they're a constituent when they're not a constituent. And the legislators are pretty sharp on that. So if you go through and you tell them what zip code you live in, you've got a better chance of them looking and making sure that's all documented when that report goes to the legislator. Now, a lot of times it won't go direct to the legislator. It'll go to their right-hand person. And they'll go through and categorize everything. And they'll go in and say, "Hey, Mr. Legislator, we've got 226 calls on bill number 62 or whatever that bill is, and they want you to vote for this." And the more calls they get and the more they know people are watching, the less likely they're going to sell us out. Now, again, they know we're the silent majority, and we have to pick this rod up and make sure that we pass it. So we have to make sure that we're doing our share. I'm going to tell you, we as a voting bloc have a lot of power. We don't use that power. And I know there's so many people out there, well, anyone should be able to own a gun, and anyone should be able to do this with a firearm, and you should be able to go anywhere you want to. I understand that. I'm with about 75, 80% of that. But there has to be, if we don't have a government, we have chaos. And trust me, we are the government. We are the government. We get to tell them what to do, and if they don't do it, if a big enough bloc votes against them, they won't be in office. So we have the power, and you're seeing that right now with what's going on with the Trump administration. There's a lot of craziness going on. I mean, he's been in office 60 days, and I'm 67 years old. I've never seen a president do as much as he's done in the first 2 months. So I get it. But what I'm trying to do with this is to say, wake up. We've got some really good bills coming through at the federal level and at the state level here in Texas. And so we've got to go out and put our voices out there and make sure they're heard. And that is making the phone calls. And then when there's a town hall meeting, showing up, being polite, and letting them know that you are a pro 2A supporter. Hey, thanks for watching. Hope you subscribe. And I hope this has really answered some questions